thank God I've got internet back. So now I can start creating content for you again after this nice house move. So let's get stuck in. Hello and welcome to Life Begins at 20. My name is Mark and thank you so much for joining me. Now, I've moved home, as many of you already know from Twitter or other social media platforms. We finally moved in, we finally got internet back. I mean, I can't believe how much I actually require it to live my life, really. It's pretty scary actually, but we've got ourselves the internet. We've got a new backdrop now for the studio. We've got some professional lighting going on as well, just to try and amplify the quality of the videos. Plus, as you've probably already seen on the graphics as well, we've got a new intro, we've got ourselves some new lower thirds and titles as well. So let me know in the comment section below whether you like those, if there's anything different that you'd like to see. Again, do let me know. If the song's not right for the intro, I'm still playing around with it. It may well end up changing over the course of a few weeks, but needless to say, I'm happy with where we are. I do need to get some blue LED lighting just to give the backdrop a little bit more pop than we've got at the moment. So that's definitely going to be on order once I figure out what I actually need. But I'm more than happy now. We've moved into the new flat. Everything's great. We've just got a couple of bits and pieces left for the old place to sort out, and then we will be back creating content. Now, needless to say, while I was away for a few weeks, it didn't mean that I didn't end up buying more Magic cards, because that's generally what I do. And with Commander 2017 having come out, there was really only the one card that I ended up getting from the set, but I ended up buying a few cube upgrades as well. Plus, Drew sent me over from America some really nice cube upgrades as well. So in this video, we're going to be seeing what I've added into my cube over the past few weeks. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. So there are a fair few changes to the cube this month, and purely down to the fact that Drew was kind enough to send me over a fair few cards, including this Elspeth here, which I'll give a link in the description below to the opening of what he sent me over, plus a link to his channel as well in a card, so you can go and check that out as well. He's such a great guy. Plus I got a little bit bored and bought myself some extra cards as well, purely down to the fact I had no internet, so we'll see what ends up happening. Now, to start off with, Elspeth Knight Errant, so glad that I've got her in the cube now. I was after her for quite a while, and Drew was kind enough to send her over, and I'm so grateful for that. She came in for Cataclysmic Gearhulk, purely down to the fact that the Gearhulk wasn't really doing enough for me to warrant its spot anymore, and I had enough Wrath effects in white to really not need to have an extra one. So he came out because, well, he wasn't really being utilised and picked very often. So Elspeth in, fantastic. Next up, we've got Thalia's Lancers. Now, many of you know from Ixalan, they've changed the way the Planeswalkers works. They're now legendary, which means this can now tutor in those cards, which is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't tried it out in your cubes yet, definitely do so, because it is phenomenal how well it actually works. And for me, this one came in instead of Angel of Condemnation. Now, I like blink effects, and I'm supporting that within my cube, but it just was like I thought it was going to be. It was just too slow in games, and it was too easy to pick off, and just wasn't worth it. So Thalia's Lancers is in for that, and I think that's here to stay. Moving on to blue, we've got ourselves Jace Bellerin. I mean, I picked this up quite cheap. Just a nice foil one from, I think this is the Jewel deck. Again, does a fantastic job. Each player drawing a card, or you're yourself drawing a card as well. You're never going to reach the ultimate, but that doesn't really matter to me in the slightest. Just an extra little bit of card draw is really useful to have. And this one for me came in for Seagate Oracle, purely down to the fact that the Oracle wasn't really performing as well as I wanted with all the recent updates, and I just felt that, well, you know, Jace is going to give me more card draw, and I needed to get an extra blue Planeswalker in than I did before. So yeah, Jace was just seemed like the perfect opportunity to get rid of Seagate Oracle there. Again, it's perfect for Pauper cubes, but it just seemed like it was a little bit underpowered compared to the rest of the blue section, so Jace is coming in for him. Deceiver Exarch is back in the cube, and that's purely down to, as you're going to see a little bit later on, I've incorporated Kiki Jiki and Splinter Twin, so I wanted to have some of the combo pieces in here, and this one for me came out for Docent of Perfection, purely down to the fact that the Spells Matter deck, the people who were drafting it, and myself included, you're just never getting to him. There was no point. You were burning the player out far quicker than if you were going to try and get him out and try and utilise him. So Docent of Perfection comes out, and Deceiver Exarch comes in purely down for the fact that Kiki GT and Splinter Twin are coming in. Next up, we've got a nice old copy of Mana Leak, and I can't believe I didn't actually have this. I thought I did originally in my cube, but apparently I didn't. So this has come in for Negate, purely down to the fact that I think it's just a better counterspell overall. Next up, we've got a card that people have been asking for me to get hold of quite recommending quite a lot, which is Frantic Search, and I really do like this because you're going to be able to put stuff into your graveyard, and then you're going to be able to utilize that mana again, which is great. And for me, this one has come in instead of Forbidden Alchemy, just because I believe it performs a bit better for what I need, especially for Reanimator and other things like that. So I'm happy to have Frantic Search in. Next up's another card that Drew sent me, which I'm so glad for, which is Treachery. Such a good card. I mean, I've been wanting this for ages. Control magic, and you get your lands back, so it's a free control magic. That's just fantastic. And for me, this one came in for Bident of Thassa because, again, nobody was really picking it that often, and blue I felt had enough card draw as it was, and I'd rather have this in there by a country mile. So yeah, this is coming in for Bident of Thassa. And last of all, in the blue section, this is probably slightly in the wrong order, but it doesn't matter. We've got Arcane Denial, so countering a target spell, and its controller can draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of their next turn's upkeep, and you get to draw an additional one as well. So I think that's quite nice there. And for me, this one has come in for Cyclonic Rift because it wasn't really the bounce effect I really wanted in my cube. It just wasn't performing as well as I'd hoped, and there are better options within my cube as well. So yeah, Cyclonic Rift has come out, Arcane Denial has come in purely because I wanted another counterspell in there, and this was a really nice one to have. Next up, we're going into black, and I think this is the only black card I've actually added to the cube, and it's already, Drew, it's already got people not very happy with me, or shall I say you. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal card. I really do enjoy playing this against my opponents. I didn't mind it so much being played against me, but yeah, they did not appreciate this when I actually played it. And for me, this one has come in instead of To the Slaughter because I realised going through my cube recently, I was just having a look through, and I was like, oh, actually, I've got far too many of those style of cards already, especially with Nether to Return coming back from Amonkhet coming in there as well. I just didn't need an additional one. Plenty of removal in black, so Mind Twist has come in, and it's fantastic. The look on people's faces, True, you'd have really appreciated that. Moving into red section now, and Grim Lavamancer is the first one up, another card that Drew sent me over. Perfect little 1-drop, especially means you can get an additional bit of damage coming out of the spells that are in your graveyard. Really do appreciate that, and it's doing a pretty decent job as well. And this one's come in for Burning Fist Minotaur, purely down to the fact that it just wasn't really performing as well as I'd hoped. Probably because I was potentially playing him slightly wrong, but I just felt that there wasn't as enough discard outlets for me that I wanted to actually be using it that often. Great first strike, that's fantastic, but it wasn't performing as well as I'd hoped. So Grim Lavamancer's coming in because I just wanted and needed some more red 1-drops. Next up, we've got Stormblood Berserker. Again, this is purely down to the fact that it's been swapped for the other one. I picked up the artwork, I think it was only like 12p or something at the time, and I was surprised how cheap it was. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be taking that. So yeah, this is literally just an artwork change going into the cube. As mentioned earlier, Kiki Jiki is coming into the cube. I just wanted to give it a try, see if it ends up being a bit abusive or not with being the infinite combo. I haven't supported it utterly, and there's like loads of different cards that it could get, but there is enough in there with the likes of Restoration Angel, now Deceiver Exarch, Pestimites in there as well. So there is enough in there for it to, still be a decent enough option, but I haven't overly supported it where it becomes unbearable. So Kiki Jiki for me has come in instead of Chandra's Phoenix, purely down to the fact that Chandra's Phoenix wasn't performing as well as I'd hoped either. It was a decent enough card, but it just wasn't really strong enough. So Kiki Jiki's coming in, and we'll see what ends up happening here. Next up, we've got Goblin Bombardment. This is something I've been wanting to add for a little while, and they were out of stock for the singles at the time, so I've managed to pick it up, and it's just nice to be able to sacrifice tokens and just ping your opponent down, and that's just really, really fun. I do need to get hold of Perforus as well, just to make even more use out of all of this, but Goblin Bombardment's fantastic. And this has come in for Sweltering Suns because I felt that red section already had enough spells to do multiple damage and board wipe style damage, so with the likes of Earthquake, Wildfire, and all those kinds of stuff, so I felt I didn't need to have an additional one, and I thought Goblin Bombardment would be a lot more fun. And as mentioned again earlier, Splinter Twin is coming in just to be able to again do some other bits of shenanigans with Enter the Battlefield triggers as well. Plus, if you can get the infinite combo off as well. And Splinter Twin came in for Carry Zev's expertise purely down to the fact that, yes, I did like Carry Zev's expertise. I do like to be able to take hold of control of an opponent's creature for the one turn, and more often than not you do get that extra spell off, but it just wasn't really what I wanted. At the time, there wasn't anything else I could go, okay, I'm going to cut that instead. There may well do, and it may end up coming back because I did actually quite enjoy it, but it just wasn't what I would like. And to be honest, with Control Magic and Treachery now in my blue section, that's more where I wanted to go down. So I'm happy putting Splinter Twin in to see how this ends up performing. Next up into the green section, we've got Nissa Worldwaker, and I mean, it was only a few quid from the Arc Enemy set, and I was like, I needed to get this Nissa in because the one I had, which is Nissa Vital Force, which is the one that's coming out for it, this one just performs ultimately so much better. You're swinging in with some damage, you're going to untap 4 target forest, so you get to ramp as well. That's really nice, and I have actually managed to get a game where the ultimate's gone off as well, which is good fun. But no, she just performs ultimately so much better than Vital Force in Cube. And another card that Drew sent me over, which is Lotus Cobra, which again I'm so grateful for. It was on my list for a while of things I wanted to pick up, and I'm so glad to have it. So again, we've got ourselves a bit of mana ramp going on here, and this one's coming in for Channeler Initiate. I did quite like the Channeler Initiate, but I felt that it getting a little bit stronger and then losing its mana ramp, it was okay, but it just didn't really do enough for me. So Lotus Cobra's coming in for that one. And the only card from Commander 2017 going into my cube, as you probably already guessed, is Fractured Identity. This card is fantastic. Such a good card. I'm so glad to have picked this up. I mean, it was only a couple quid, which is fantastic for me. Just being able to exile a non-land permanent, and then you get a token copy of that. Just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And for me, this one has come in instead of Spell Queller, because I had all the other cards I have in my Azorius Guild. They were more than good enough, and I couldn't really risk cutting any of the others. So this is probably, Spell Queller was the weakest one I had at the time, and this one's coming in. And to be honest, this one is going to be staying for quite some time. Next up in the Dimir Guild, we've got ourselves Psychotog, and again, people have been recommending me this for quite a while, and yeah, for good reason. It does a very good job. I've been enjoying it quite a lot. It gets to be a little bit of extra damage every so often when you're discarding cards, and then you get to remove 2 cards and pump him up, which is really fun as well. So again, I'm really happy to see that one, and that one's coming in for Shadow Mage Infiltrator. It's just doing a better job for me. I have enough ways of being able to get card draw and swinging in that I didn't necessarily need to have the extra one in the Infiltrator, and it's probably the weakest one that was in that guild at the time as well, so Psychotog is coming in for that. Next up, we've got a couple of cards for the Silesia Guild. So first up, we've got Dryad Militant. Again, this was really cheap for this nice promo version of it. And I've been very happy with this. This is coming for the Dauntless Escort, because I just felt that I like to have this card sitting in there to stop burn deck going off or anything along those lines, and it really limiting what the opponent's going to be able to do, especially if they're trying to get flashback spells or something along those lines, or even potentially stopping Reanimator in the sense that, you're going to have the cards like Unburial Rites going to the graveyard. No, it's not happening. So that's more than fine. So if you're trying to stack the graveyard up with spells, it's not going to be able to do that. So that's fantastic, and I've been really enjoying that. It's done a great job. And then the last one we've got, again, picked up fairly cheaply, was Voice of Resurgence. This has just been fantastic, especially for tokens. It just stopping your opponent quite early on from doing anything, which is quite, going off has been really useful. And this one's come in instead of Sigarda Heron's Grace. As much as I had a fair decent amount of humans, and she does a good job, I'd rather have the cheaper option here. Voice of Resurgence really pushing that tokens theme there. So this has been really nice. And then another card that Drew sent me over, this one's going in for the Golgari Guild. There we go, in focus now. Deathrite Shaman, absolutely great. So many options to be able to do things. So exiling a land, and then ramping yourself, exiling, and each opponent loses 2 life, or a target creature and you gain 2 life. So there's lots of different options for Deathrite Shaman here, and it's been fantastic. And we've put this in instead of Putrefy. Now, I've got other removal within Golgari as well, and I just felt that, if I'm ever going to get the board wipe of Golgari, I completely forgotten what the name of it is. Maelstrom Pulse, does that sound right? Something along those lines anyway. If I ever do pick up that, there is going to be a cut being had to be made, but for now, Teacher Fire was probably the least useful card that I've got in there. You may disagree. If you do let me know in the comment section below and have a look on my Cube Tutor link, which is going to be in the description as well, and you can see if I've made the right decision there. But Deathrite Salmon straight in, absolutely great. I've been really enjoying this. And then we're going into the artifacts now. I've put Mana Vault in. Again, I wanted to get hold of some more Mana Ramp. Like I said earlier in the video, I want to be previous videos as well. I want to be able to get Thran Dynamo, but with Iconic Masters coming out, and they've already spoiled that, that's definitely going to be coming in. I'm definitely going to be picking up packs of that and hoping to pick one of those up as well. So Mana Vault's in. Really been enjoying this. It's nice enough for me that, you know, you can be able to push yourself quite ahead early, but you're also then going to be taking damage as well, so it is slightly fairer. And this one for me is coming in for Voltaic Key. Not necessarily sure that's definitely the right card that I want to be taking out, but I will definitely be taking another look through. Voltaic Key for me was pretty nice. It probably worked quite well with Mana Vault actually, but that's not the point. And I just felt that, you know, there wasn't enough people using the Voltaic Key, and I definitely don't have infinite combos with it either, so I felt that it didn't quite do enough at this moment in time. But if I end up adding more of the more interesting artifacts in there, it may well make its way back in. Next up, we've got Throne of the God Pharaoh, and this is probably the only card from Amonkhet I didn't actually get to open, which is quite surprising actually. This one I've been very, very happy with. It's definitely performing well in an aggro deck, especially with a lot of creatures. And this one came in for Aethersphere Harvester. I mean, yes, I like the vehicle, a nice little flyer. It only requires one to be able to crew it. But I felt that the other vehicles in there were a lot better for what I wanted there, and Throne of the God Pharaoh has been producing far more damage over the course of the game than the Aethersphere Harvester has done, so definitely very happy to have this, and it's gone straight in. Again, another mana ramp we've got here in Basalt Monolith. So again, like I said, I wanted to get more of the better mana ramp in there, especially with the artifacts, because I felt I was a little bit lacking there. And this one's come in for Felwar Stone, purely down to the fact that as much as being able to get one colour mana for what your opponent can produce, it just wasn't quite doing enough of what I wanted, and there are definitely better options out there. So Basalt Monolith in and Felwar Stone out. And another last one we've got from Drew, I believe it is anyway, that sent over was Coalition Relic. Again, very, very happy to have this in here. It is such a good card, so being able to ramp for any colour, or if you don't want to use it in the one turn, you get yourself the charge counter and pre-combat main phase, you get both pieces, so that's fantastic. And this one for me has come in for Tumble Magnet, because like I said, again, it just wasn't being used enough, and that's probably down the fact that it's not quite as fun. I need to get hold of Tangle Wire. That may end up producing a better option than Tumble Magnet, but I just felt that this was definitely the upgrade I wanted to make, and especially as Tumble Magnet really wasn't being used very often. And last of all, the last card we've been changed is Mishra's Factory, and I just felt that this was a far better land than the one I had in there, which is Dread Statuary, and this one definitely has been performing far, far better. Again, there's some other cards that I wanted to get hold of in the land section, but for now, Mishra's Factory is doing a great job and is definitely an improvement over Dread Statuary. So those are all the updates to my cube. Now, like I said before, you know, there were some bits and pieces that I wanted to add in. Definitely there's a few more things I want to get in there, some mana rocks for example, Thran Dynamo and all this kind of stuff, but because of Iconic Masters being spoiled, and I'll be doing a separate video on that as well, of just how excited I am with some of the cards that are just getting reprinted, especially for myself. I mean, it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea from what I've been reading on social media and that lot, but there are so many great cards that I want to get hold of for my cube, and it's just the perfect way for me to get hold of that. So again, the cube is going to carry on progressing, and with Ixalan now coming out in the next couple of weeks, I will be doing my top 10 videos, or top 5 depending on how many cards there are. I'm still working out, you know, how many decent cards there are at this moment in time, so those will be coming out next week after pre-release of this weekend, which unfortunately I won't be going to, but needless to say, there will be the top 10 videos, or top 5 anyway. Those will be coming out next week for commons, uncommons, rares and mythics, so you can see which cards are being looked at and which ones might actually be suitable for your cubes as well, so definitely stay tuned for them. I would just like to take this moment to thank my Patreons of the channel. I can't thank you enough for the help and support that you're giving me. If you'd like to do the same, head over to patreon.com/lifebeginsat20 and there'll be a link in the description below for that as well, where there are plenty of rewards to choose from. With your support we can really push to make this channel even better. Be sure to check out our sponsor 5colorcombo.com for a great range of Magic the Gathering accessories with stunning artwork, plus a great app to draft and create decks on the fly. Use the referral code LifeBeginsAt20 for 5% off. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for new videos every Tuesday and Friday. With your support we can really help this channel to grow. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.